Hello humans, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, we shape and polish gemstones using a dremel. If that's something that interests you, please consider subscribing. Today we're going to be working on this massive and brilliant piece of rainbow lattice sunstone from Tanzania. And as you can see, there is just beautiful crossing lines patterns all over it. It's nice, it's dark, and I think it will do well cut up into a few pieces because it is a little bit jagged and a strange shape, but when we weigh it out, the starting weight of the stone is 68.13 carats, so it's a pretty heavy piece and it'll take me some time to shape it. When we measure it, it is 16.9 tall, 18.45 wide on the thickest part, 14.42 on the thinnest part, and the other side is 15.66 millimeters. When we shine a flashlight through it, you can see that it is relatively clean, but there are some cracks and inclusions going on, which is pretty standard for rainbow lattice sunstone. So if you guys want to see how this gets sliced up and shaped into many gems, keep on watching. So starting out here, you can see that I have marked it to slice it into 3 sections based on the depth of it. I'm going to be using the S5S diamond sintered circular cutting bit that I got from Suva Lapidary, and I'm constantly dipping in the water as I am working on slicing this. And starting out slicing, I'm very careful because the piece can kind of bounce around on the circular cutting bit quite a bit, as you can see here, so you have to hold it very firmly and be very gentle in the beginning of it. And then I continue down, going straight down from the spot that I started in and just continuing to dip constantly. And I had my front door open while I did this as well to keep dust from going through. And this is what these slices look like. You can see this one has a thicker part and a thinner part. This middle piece is very brilliant and bright, but there are some cracks running through it, but it should make a few beautiful pieces. And then this is probably the most bright and even piece of the 3 that ended up being cut. And we ended up with a 17 carat piece. And then this piece is 19 carats. And then the nicest piece here is 23 carats, which is a total of 59 carats. So that should tell you how much we lost just by slicing it. And then here I've drawn some circles on the slabs, and I used my stencil that I got from 53 Frogs. And then these are the shapes that I'm hoping to get out of these. And I ended up discarding the circle on that biggest square one because I ended up wanting to do a cushion cut on it. Originally, I thought that I wanted to fit it to a particular setting that I have that has like a double Celtic knot kind of thing going on, but I decided it would be best to cushion cut it because it's so beautiful. I didn't want to waste any of the carats in it. So going through these, each stone was a different beast of its own, and it ended up taking me 4 different sessions to get these stones totally shaped and polished and all that, which is the biggest reason why it took so long for me to get this video out. But another reason why I wanted to slice these pieces up, other than the obvious that there were cracks running through some of the pieces and I wanted to get cleaner pieces out of it, which, you know, is always ideal, but I did have somebody who had requested a pair of earrings from me, and then I had another person that I had shown this stone to in the rough, and she said, I want a full set out of that because it's so beautiful. So I'm trying to make a pair of earrings and a full set, and then I'm working on the king stone, and then there were a few other stones that ended up from the big stone because pieces had to be cut off, and as you guys saw when I stenciled them, there was the kind of triangular type kind of shaped piece that ended up breaking off of the bigger circle piece that I was working on. So when you do cut up a large piece like this into several pieces, every time that you're bringing it to the slicing bit, you are risking more cracks forming and pieces chipping off, and you are also losing a lot of carats. So as you guys saw, that middle slab had a lot more cracks going through it, but also that middle slab went through a lot more stress than the other two because it had to go through the slicing bit twice. So in the rough piece, there very well could have not been as many cracks on that section of the stone, but since I chose to slice it up, there were more cracks that ended up forming. But also, something to keep in mind about rainbow lattice sunstone is that without some sort of cracks and fractures running through it to begin with, then oxygen can't get to the inclusions and oxidize them to create the rainbows. So the fact that in the raw, the rough piece had so much rainbow in it, there had to be cracks running through it already because, yeah, it's those inclusions that are oxidizing that gives it that rainbow look. So you don't get these brilliant, bright, shiny pieces without there being some sort of cracks somewhere in the rough piece, or there can just be divots in the rough piece that oxygen can get to those inclusions and really bring them out and make them really, really bright. You'll see in some like meteor shower sunstones, it's just crazy, brilliant, bright rainbows all the way running through, and meteor shower sunstone is the same type deal where it's the pieces of the stone that are oxidizing that are making it so bright. So the fact that those are so brilliant and so bright means that there was oxygen present in it. But also, it's going out of your way to take these risks to like cut up this big stone into several pieces to create these multiple cabs that will make multiple people happy from one stone. So I'm able to make the one person happy who wanted the earrings, I'm able to make the other person happy who wanted the full set, as well as myself happy from having little end cuts and trying to create as many cabs as I can from the piece. And then whoever ends up purchasing the king stone of the lot will also be brought joy from this piece. So I definitely could have went and cut this stone into 3 and then just cut 3 stones from it, and that would have been fine. But in doing what I did and making the decision that I did, I will lose more carats, which in turn means losing potential and like potential profits from the stone. I'm taking the risk, biting the bullet to create more joy for people with the stone. And so that's something that you should keep in mind when you have bigger pieces, is you could just make the big piece one gigantic chunk and charge this huge crazy price for it, or you can cut it into many pieces, lose more carats, but they'll be more affordable, and in turn there is a higher potential for sales, because not a lot of people are gonna have the $300 to buy a big stone or the $1,000 to buy a big opal, but you might have more people who have, say, $30 or $40 to spend on a stone, and then you'll be making more money because you'll be able to sell it. Whereas you're not really making the money if you can't sell it because it's too expensive. But it is, of course, always up to the person shaping the stone if you want to have the potential of, say, you have the big stone and you have the potential of $1,000 versus you cut the stone into smaller pieces and you have the potential of more like $200. That's up to you because you are the one who's shaping it, and if you want to be more patient, then more power to you, because if you have that patience, you could have that extra profit, but you are also paying with your time. So definitely keep that in mind and consider that when you are shaping your stones to sell. And if you're not shaping them to sell and you're just shaping them for yourself, do whatever you want. Of course, it's always up to you, and this was just my decision, and it felt like the right thing to do for me at the time. But moving forward with the shaping process, there was a lot of jagged edges on all of these pieces. There were a couple of pieces that had cracks starting to form through them, and I was really careful to try to grind away as much of those cracks as possible, because, if there's cracks in the stone, that's not good. That's never a good thing. But also, I suggest if you end up doing something like this, shaping a bunch of stones out of it, once you have the back mostly flattened out, you probably should dop them, because I didn't dop them until I went through the polishing process. So my hand was really sore, and that was another reason why I would have to wait several days to continue, because it's really rough on your hand muscles to keep doing this, especially on a Dremel. If you have a full-on lapidary setup with the wheels and all that, or even a flat lap, it's going to be a lot faster, and it's going to be a lot less hard on your hands, whereas if you're doing it with the Dremel like I am, it's going to take a lot more time. So I probably spent a total of 10-20 hours on all these stones all together, because I would sit down and then I'd work on it for 6 to 8 hours, and then I'm like, okay, I can't do it anymore. Go back the next day, work on it 6 to 8 hours. It could have even been more like 25 hours that I really spent on this, because I would take my time and I'd look at it and I'd be like, okay, this isn't quite how I want it to be, and then I go back on the rough bit, work on it a bit more, and then I'd compare it to my setting. And there's a lot of other factors other than the shaping that I went through to make these the best stones that I could, and to get the best shape, because when you're shaping, you don't want to just keep running through and just keep grinding on it. You want to take time to turn your Dremel off and take a look at the stone and look for wiggly lines around it. When you're making a circle, you want to make sure that it is a perfect circle. When you're working on an oval, you want to make sure that it's relatively even around the doming and all that, and just try to make sure that you have the best shape possible. You can stencil on with your stencil, but that's only going to do so much. It's really just going to kind of help you have a shape for the bottom of the stone. But the sides and the doming and the tapering of the dome is all up to you, the artist who is shaping the stone, to take the extra time to make sure that it is the most pleasing shape that it can be. But with Rainbow Lattice Sunstone and other Sunstone as well, like Meteor Shower Sunstone and Indian Sunstone, you really want more of a flat dome, because if you have a really high dome, you're going to have only a little pinpoint in the middle of the pattern, whereas with a flatter face, you're going to have more color flashing you all at once. And so with a lot of these smaller pieces that I have, because there's several smaller pieces, I'm doing a lot of the doming on this black Nova point here, because it will really make it easy to kind of see what's going on and see that the dome needs this or that, or see that there's a bump right there, and you can work that down. And it takes a little bit of extra time, but it's not like you're going to try to grind on that bumpy part and then it's going to become a divot, like that could happen with the coarser bit. And all of these bits that I've shown so far are all from Suva Lapidary, and if you're just getting into stone shaping and you're doing Dremel work, or even if you have a lapidary machine, they have the wheels there too. I highly suggest going and checking out Suva Lapidary if you haven't already. And then also 53 Frogs on his site also offers Nova points, and he has calipers, he has black glass and black oxide for doublet making. Those are probably the two top places that I suggest going to for the tools that you would need to start shaping opal or sunstone or whichever soft stone you're going to be working on, because they have really quality stuff, whereas you could go on Amazon and buy some stuff that's not as quality and then it's gonna, you know, run out really quickly. You really want something that will last for many stones, so definitely keep that in mind when you are going out to purchase your tools. And I'm using a Dremel 3000 here because it's what was affordable to me at the time, but you can also have a cordless Dremel. There are also Dremels with like long necks on it that you can keep the main body of the Dremel far away from the water, so you can use it under the water, which, you know, is definitely a technique that I see a lot of people doing and using. And there are Dremels with like a foot pedal that you can adjust the power a little bit better, because with my Dremel 3000 I just have like a 1 through 10 notch setting, and I'm always keeping it on the 1 setting, because on a higher setting it'll spin faster and that could burn your stone, especially with opal. There's a risk of burning it, and that's never fun. You really don't want to burn your stone, so I'm always keeping it on the lowest setting to prevent that. But yeah, there are lots of options, and you don't have to go out and spend thousands of dollars on materials and tools for stoneworking. I really think, and I really do firmly believe, that the thing that you should be spending the most money on for stoneworking is the stone that you're working on. So all of my entire setup is like less than $500. It's probably more like $300 total, including like the clamps that hold my Dremel down to the shelf, because I do have my Dremel clamped to a shelf with like some blue sponge pads in between the clamp and the Dremel to really hold it firm without damaging my Dremel or squeezing it too tight. Because I think that having a cheaper setup allows for more profit, whereas you can go out and buy a lapidary machine with all the wheels and spend $8,000 or however much it is, and it's going to take a lot of stones to get that $8,000 back. Though granted, you will be saving time, because that sort of thing will grind down your stones a lot faster, but it also gives you less control for saving carats at the same time, and you have to be more careful. I noticed that when people are using those types of machines, there's a lot more jagged edges going on, and you have to be way more on top of it. So I do suggest, if you're just starting out, start with a Dremel, work your way up as you are making profit from your stones. And speaking of stones, I got this stone from Gecko Stones. He's on eBay. He also has his own Etsy page, and you can find him on Instagram as well. Really quality sunstones coming from that seller. I've really never seen any higher quality sunstones than I have seen from Gecko Stones, and some of the stones that Gecko Stones has I haven't even seen from any other seller, like in the rough. So definitely go check them out if you want some Rainbow Lattice Sunstone or Meteor Shower Sunstone. Also has Malawi Moonstone and Madagascar Moonstone, and lots of really interesting rare feldspars over there. Definitely 100% recommend. Really good prices too on the rough stones. Like, I got this large piece in a 1,000-carat parcel that I got from eBay. The whole parcel of 1,000 carats was $200. So very, very reasonable, very high quality. And you guys saw this piece it was like almost 70 carats originally. That's like nuts. Great price. But I did get a alcohol lamp finally, and this is the very, very first time here that I'm ever dopping with dopping wax, and I got it from 53 Frogs. These are my very first dopping stones, and I'm very proud of them. I'm really happy with how they turned out. The first two are a separate two that I shaped earlier than the second batch with the larger handful. So the first two I made the earrings out of that. I said I was going to make the earrings for the person, but it was kind of a time crunch because they wanted them for a birthday. So I finished those before I finished all the other ones, and unfortunately I forgot to weigh those two that I made the earrings out of on camera. But I would guess that the total weight of them is probably around 3 carats. Because I didn't just not weigh them on camera, I just totally forgot to weigh them because I was all excited about setting them into the settings and making earrings out of them and all that. And I think that the earrings turned out well. You guys will see all the jewelry that I made in the end of the video. But here, I kind of realized that when you are dopping with super glue, when you try to wipe the stone on your pants to check for scratches, it can very easily pop off, and then you have to re-glue it, and it takes all this extra time because you have to wait for the glue to dry. Whereas when you are dopping with dopping wax, it pretty much solidifies like seconds after you take it away from that flame, kind of shape it with your fingers. And that's really nice, and you can easily wipe it off on your pants or your shirt or cloth to check for scratches, and it's not going to pop off. The only time that I found I had a risk of the stone popping off of the dop was when I had the stone held on my polishing paste tip for a little bit too long, and then the stone heated up, and then that in turn heated up the wax and loosened the wax around the bottom. But as long as you're keeping an eye out for that, and you make sure that if you realize you are heating up the stone too much and the wax is kind of sliding around, you just got to pull it away for a second, pinch it back, kind of make sure that it's back to an even flat position, and go right back to it. It's easy peasy. You just have to be ever so slightly careful. Whereas with super glue dopping, you have to be super careful, and it's super difficult to make sure that it stays on there. So, very happy with my dopping wax that I got from 53 Frogs, and I was super excited to use it here. I can't wait to use it on other stones too. But the sort of method that I'm using to get a good polish on these is, as you can see, I'm starting around the edges on the tip of the felt tip with the lapidary paste, and then I'm slowly rotating it with one hand at the base of the stick and one hand up at the front. And so I work from the sides, and then I do the tips of where the sides connect with the dome, and then I roll my way around the dome in kind of a spiral until I hit the very center, and then I will go long ways across it from one side to the other, and then I'll go short ways across it from one side to the other. And I repeat this process probably about 2 or 3 times. With the biggest stone though, the big cushion cut, every time that I polished one of the smaller stones, I went back in and I did the whole thing again with the big stone, because, you know, big stones take more time, and I don't want to just sit there and constantly work on the big stone. I want to keep it interesting. And so I peppered it in, and I probably did, I don't know, like 6 or 7 rotations of that with the big stone on every felt tip. So it ended up with a really good polish because of it, and I don't think it really took that much extra effort. I have all my sticks sticking in the plastic thing that my felt tips originally came in from Amazon. I just dug it up and found it while cleaning, and super easy. I just moved the ones that are polished to the other side, and I had the big one in the middle. There's no risk of them rolling off of my desk and falling on the ground and popping off. Speaking of popping off, the best way to get your stones off of the wax is throw them in the freezer for a few minutes, and they pop right off so flippin' easily. So with my first 2 that I did the earrings with, I did put them in the freezer, and I just kind of tried to get them off, and then it didn't work really well, so I kind of like heated it up and then got it off in the hot way, and then chipped off all the extra wax with my thumb, and there's just so much extra wax on it. But when I froze the big handful of them and then popped them off, so many of them came up totally clean, and just a couple of them had little fragments around the edges, but all those fragments came off super easily with chipping it with my nail because it was frozen. So definitely a great method if you didn't know that. That's the way. But I want to say this again, and I know I've said it before, but Sunstone has these little divots in it, at least the Meteor Shower Sunstone and the Rainbow Lattice Sunstone from Tanzania. They're both from Tanzania. But they have little divots in it where the inclusions are, and you can keep polishing your stone like a mad person, and these divots are probably not going to go away unless you're lucky. So that's definitely something to keep in mind with the finish. But these are the finished stones, and these are the stones that I made the first pair of earrings out of, still on their dop sticks. And then this is the king stone. Great flash on that one. And then we have our largest circle, and it's equally as beautiful as our small circle. And then we have our first medium-sized oval that ended up being a pair of earrings with our other oval that paired with that one. And then this oval was a cutoff from the big circle, and then I got 2 cushion cuts from the cutoff of the kingstone. There was a crack in it. So the kingstone weighs 7.47 carats. Our largest circle weighs 2.55 carats. Our other circle weighs 2.24 carats. Our first medium-sized oval weighs 1.77 carats. And then we have our other oval, which weighs 1.36 carats. And our smallest oval, which is 0.95 carats. And then we have our 2 little cushion cuts, which is a total of 2.46. And then here I weighed out all of our stones except for those 2 that were the first stones that I showed that were on the dopping sticks, because I didn't weigh those. So we ended up with a total of 18.8 carats, which you should add 3 carats onto that for the 2 that I didn't weigh, which is a total of like 22 carats. So we ended up losing a total of 46 carats, which is 2/3 of the original stone. so we lost a lot of weight, but just look at the flash on this kingstone though. It is so beautiful. It has that little X on the top, full on rainbows going on. It's super clean. There's not a single crack in this one. And the back of it is gorgeous. You know, the face has a few little imperfections on it, but I think it is very, very beautiful. And I wanted to let you guys know that this stone will be on my eBay page, which I just made recently. So I'll list this on there if you're interested in buying it. And we have our big circle, which also has great rainbow in it. It has a pretty good crossing lattice, a little bit spread out. It's a little bit gold in color, but I'm pretty happy with the way that this one turned out. And you know, it's a pretty even circle all the way around. It's gonna make a great necklace when I set it, and look at the back flash on that. It is crazy bright, super gold, has a lot of pinks, and yeah, you guys can see there's a little bit of a crack running through it, but I think it should be stable once I get it in a bezel setting. It'll kind of keep it all together. And then we have our smaller oval, which has a really nice, brilliant gold silver flash. There's a little bit of kind of blue-green going on in it from certain angles, but for the most part it's pretty metallic. But something to keep in mind is that this one came from the very center slab, so it is going to have more of a metallic finish, and it has a crack in it right around the same point as the big circle, but again, I'm sure that it'll be very stable. And then we have our oval here that has a great flash. It's a little bit metallic like the last one. It's not super rainbowy like the kingstone and the big circle are, but still really brilliant and bright and gorgeous. Very happy with that one. And then this stone, you guys can see it had a bit of a higher dome, so the flash is a bit more located in the middle of it, which means it's a bit more directional, but that's not an issue, and I still think it's got a great color. It's really bright, and I'm happy with the shape. Sometimes you just go for the dome and it doesn't work out, but hey, look at that back. That back is real nice, and I'll definitely make sure it has an open back setting. And then we have our smallest oval, which is the most directional of the bunch, which is not a huge deal because I plan on utilizing this small oval as well as the two cushion cuts for stones on my staff in a later video to celebrate my 1,000 view Sunstone videos. But the little cubes here, my small cushion cuts, super bright, super brilliant. They have the rainbow qualities of the kingstone since they came from that slab, and they're both really gorgeous. This one even has a little bit of an X on it. Well, it's actually more like a Y, but really, really nice. Very happy with them, and I can't wait to put those on my staff for you guys when I have time to spare in a video. But this is the pair of earrings that I shaped, that I forgot to weigh them, and you guys can see that that one stone has some great blues going on. They're both super bright, and the person was very happy with them. And then we have our large necklace here in its Celtic knot setting. It fit the bezel perfectly, and I made sure to orient it, of course, that the when the light comes down on top of it is where the brightest color will be versus when you look at it from the bottom, you know. And the back is really bright as well, and I really like these Celtic knot settings. I only have a couple of them left, and I'm not sure if the seller is active anymore, but I also turned the smaller oval into this beautiful ring here for the set. And again, I'm really happy with how it turned out. Nice metallic colors rolling through it. I think it'll be a dazzling ring, and I haven't given these to the person yet because I filmed this footage the day that I'm doing the voiceover, but I'm sure that they'll be very pleased with how these turned out because I am very happy with them. And you guys can see that the earrings turned out really well, and this is also in the sunlight of my window as well. And I couldn't really be happier with the way this set turns out, and I can't wait to give them to the person. Thank you guys for watching this far if you have. That's really spectacular. I know this was a long video, and if you're still watching, you may as well give this a thumbs up because you've been here for 35 minutes now. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, and leave a comment if you have anything to say. I love it when you guys comment. Just please tell me what you're thinking. Share this with a friend if you have a friend to share this with, and will help build our community stronger. And I'll see you guys next time that I post a video. Later!